Hi, I'm Cindy Praisner, the Early Childhood Coordinator for C3. I'm here today to talk about kindergarten readiness. We get a lot of questions about kindergarten. Some of them are, what is the Connecticut enrollment requirement for kindergarten? Is my child ready for kindergarten? What is academic redshirting? Or what's a burr baby? Some terms you might hear. My child has a summer or late birthday. Is delaying kindergarten best? First, let's talk about Connecticut's kindergarten start date. Connecticut law requires districts to offer enrollment to students who turn 5 before January 1st of the child's kindergarten year. So for the 2022-2023 school year, a birthday between January 2nd of 2017 and January 1st of 2018 makes the child eligible to attend kindergarten in that school year. Entry is not required, however, until age 6 or 7 in Connecticut. If you did want to delay kindergarten for that long, you would have to complete some forms with the school district. So what is ready? There's no singular benchmark for school readiness. There's no checklist or form or kindergarten inventory that will tell, yes, go to kindergarten, or no, don't go to kindergarten. In Connecticut, our schools need to be ready. School districts are required to provide an appropriate kindergarten experience for all children that are age eligible. You'll want to consider your family's readiness. Think about your emotions around the topic. What does your culture say about starting kindergarten? What are your finances? What are the social implications of going to kindergarten or not going to kindergarten? And then student readiness. But student readiness is a little tricky because children enter kindergarten regardless of their age, with varying experiences and skills, stages of development, personalities, and temperaments. So kindergarten classrooms need to be ready for students wherever they are if they are age eligible. Kindergarten enrollment cutoff dates in other states. So as I've already said, Connecticut has a cutoff date of January 1st. You might want to consider, however, that that date is really late in relationship to the date set in other parts of the country. 43 states require a child to turn 5 by October 15th to enter kindergarten. And 39 of those states set a cutoff before September 1st, and some are as early as July 31st. The remaining 6 states set their dates by their local school district. So in Mass, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, each school district gets to set their kindergarten enrollment start date. But often these are also by September 1st or October 1st, but can be as late as December 31st. So as a result, the youngest kindergartners in Connecticut, those typically born between September through January 1st, are also the youngest kindergartners in the country. What is a burr baby? You might have heard people saying, oh, I have a burr baby. A burr baby is a term that refers to children born between September through December. Since the typical cutoffs are often around September, we in Connecticut refer to the babies born between September through December as those burr babies because they're the youngest children in the classroom if they go to school. And we also know that people with burr babies are more likely to consider holding their child back because they'll be the youngest in the class, and they'll also be younger than the cutoff dates in many other states. What is redshirting? Redshirting is delaying a child's entry to kindergarten by a year or more. The term is borrowed from collegiate sports, where athletes sit out competition while they get bigger, stronger, and more competitive. Parents typically, though, hold a child back because they feel they aren't ready, either cognitively, socially, or emotionally for school. But what we know about redshirting is that most people who redshirt or delay their child's entry to kindergarten are white, male, and have a high socioeconomic status because they can afford another year of daycare or preschool before sending their child to kindergarten. Other parents may want to delay their child's entry because they want to give their child a leg up on the assumption that being older will make him more advanced. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, 17% of kindergartners in 2009 were 6 or older by October of that school year, Conversely, in 1970, only 5% of kindergartners were that old. So what we know is that the overall age of kindergartners is actually shifting towards the older range. So what does that mean in the classroom? Children in kindergarten classrooms will be a mix of children entering early, on time, sort of in the average range, and those that delayed entry and will be older than the children in the classroom. That leaves an age span within a classroom that can be as much as 18 months between the youngest child and the oldest child. So a child's relative position in the developmental distribution of his or her classmates depends not only on whether he or she enters kindergarten on time or at a young age, but also on whether in which other children do so. So it's really hard to know whether or not your child will be, how far off the average age in the classroom your child will be, because it really depends on who else ends up in the classroom with them. So some people think my child is advanced or gifted. This is a gift to be able to send them early at the age of 4. So your 4-year-old daughter is already able to count to 20. She knows her alphabet. She's starting to read. She loves to learn. She's generally excited about the work that you give her every day. Preschool is boring. She's ready for more of a challenge. You might say, shoo-in for kindergarten. But you should consider, are other areas as developed? What are her social emotional skills like? What are her physical skills like? Sometimes what we see with gifted children is asynchronous development, which means they might be ahead academically, but actually need support in other areas, such as social skills. So that's something to consider. So you might say, what does the research say? The research, unfortunately, does not provide us with a clear picture about whether or not entering kindergarten at 4 on the young side or entering kindergarten at 6 on the older side is beneficial or is actually detrimental to them. It's really hard to tell. One of the problems with the research on delaying entry is it assumes a common kindergarten age cutoff. A lot of times it's talking about the difference between entering in August or September, when we know in Connecticut, we're 4 months off that average. We're all the way at January. So some of the research doesn't really fit our Connecticut model. There's also a lot of mixed conclusions in the research, especially around redshirting, because it might show a benefit to redshirt, but what we know about redshirting is that the families who redshirt tend to be wealthier. And so those children also tend to have more experiences, more books, more preschool than other children might. And the retention research, some people think, well, I'll send my child to kindergarten if we need to continue them in kindergarten for another year and hold them back and retain them there, or in first grade. I'm okay with that. And the retention data isn't really that clear either. Delaying entry reduces the probability of an abnormal inattention hyperactivity rating. That's one little bit of information that we do tend to know, that delaying entry until they're a little bit older does help reduce the probability that they'll be labeled as ADD or ADHD, simply because they feel like having the extra time in a preschool play-based environment helps them build self-regulation skills. So that is one thing to consider. So what are important readiness skills? You might be wondering, how do I know what my child's supposed to be able to do when they enter into kindergarten? Well, here are some things that teachers find helpful. Again, children don't have to have all of these skills. These are the skills that are really beneficial for children to come in with, but every school needs to provide an appropriate environment for a child if they are age eligible. So some self-help skills. They should be able to put on a coat, use their backpack, put that on over their shoulders without help. They can take care of their toileting needs independently. They can wash their hands and fix the snaps on their pants. They might be able to care for their own belongings and pick up after themselves. And they should be able to self-advocate. They should be able to ask for help when needed, or ask a question when they're confused. Some basic social skills. They should be able to share, play in an appropriate manner, engage in simple conflict resolution, respect differences of others, identify other children by name, and be able to express their feelings. Language development, be able to follow directions, able to tell the teacher what they need, that they can explain situations, that they can build upon general knowledge. And some of the experiences that they've been exposed to should help them be able to recognize some letters, letter sounds, numbers, colors, and shapes. They should be able to do some counting, some rhyming and segmenting of sounds. So being able to pull words apart and put them back together again. They should be able to write and recognize their name. Capital and lowercase letters is what they would prefer. They should use writing and drawing materials. They should be able to read books and enjoy being read to. They should be able to participate in fine motor activities with cutting and pasting and puzzles and art material, and have large motor activities like running and jumping. So again, if your child doesn't have all of these things, this is not a checklist. These are just the things that you might do and work on to try to help them come into kindergarten in a little bit of a better place. But the school district will be prepared and ready for them wherever they are if they are age eligible for kindergarten. So maybe you're thinking about not going to kindergarten. You're thinking about delaying their start for another year. What should you do? If you're going to let them benefit from the gift of time, which is the phrase that a lot of people use about giving them another year before kindergarten, we don't want them to sit in a stagnant sort of environment and do the same thing again that they've already done. We want to make sure that they're continuing to be stimulated and they're in a play-based environment where they can build those self-regulation skills, work on their peer interactions and their social emotional skills, and continue to build sort of their knowledge and their language in that setting. Some people consider another year of preschool. Most people, I would say, do another year of preschool. They might consider switching programs, finding one that has a longer day, maybe something that's a little more academic or a little more, if they already know the academics, they might look for a program that's more play-based to build those social emotional skills. So something to build up the areas where their child might be a little bit weaker. You might also consider doing kindergarten in a private setting. Some people do a year of kindergarten outside of the school district in like a Montessori program or a Catholic school for a year, and then they bring them into the school district for kindergarten in the following year. So although they're doing 2 years of kindergarten, they're doing them in different settings. Again, we're just looking for a place where they can have lots of peer interactions, that social skill development can occur, a stimulating environment, something that's new and novel and helps them grow, and that's play-based if in fact they don't go to kindergarten. If you need help looking for options, you can always reach out to C3 and we can give you some options on programming that you might be able to explore. So how do you decide? It's a tough decision. I have an October birthday and a December birthday child. I know how much angst and emotion can go into making this decision. So you really need to consider your own child's uniqueness. What is their personality? What's their learning style and set of capabilities? What are their needs? What are their strengths? What are their interests? What are their physical or behavior challenges? Are they still napping? Do they get physically tired by the end of a day? And what are their learning differences? Are you already noting some struggles they might have? And you also need to think about the whole 17 years of their education. Not just are they ready for kindergarten, but will they be ready all along the way as they progress through school? So a child who enters kindergarten at 4 will head to JJ Intermediate School for grades 3 through 5 at 7. They'll enter William J. Johnston Middle School at age 10 for 6th grade, and they'll enter Bacon Academy High School at age 13 for grade 9. And probably the scariest one is they'll start college or their career at age 17. And that can be a challenge. If your child is not going to head right off to college, there are some jobs that require a minimum age of 18 to even work there. So having that early exit from school can be a little bit of a challenge. So to help make your decision, you might talk with your current preschool teacher. They can give you a lot of insights. If you're already attending a daycare or preschool program, even a Sunday school, how are they performing? How are they managing the stress of peer interactions? How are they, doing their self-help skills? Are they pretty independent? You could even look to your pediatrician for insight. They might be able to provide you with some thoughts. But ultimately, this is a personal choice that you'll have to make, that you'll make based upon the ideas of your friends. In family friends, do they have these friends that they've had from preschool who are moving on? That can be a big consideration. What are your finances? Can you afford another year of preschool, or do they need to go to kindergarten? And your child, most importantly, your child. How do you think your child will do, not just in kindergarten, but throughout their schooling career? So those are all the things to think about. If you do have a child who is either on the older side or the younger side and not in the middle, they might always feel a little old or a little young. So sometimes it feels like there are kids who just don't quite fit with the mold of the average. So you'll have to make those decisions yourself on which way you want to lean. I wish you all the best. And there's more information about kindergarten on both the school website and the C3 website. So please check those out as well. Thanks. Bye-bye.